we're happy to have Bob Michelson here today, and he has been a professional photographer and videographer of wildlife above and below the water for over 49 years. And he founded his company Photography by Michelson in '74.
Yes.
His photography and articles have appeared in numerous local and national magazines and books. And I have to tell you, I'm guilty because the list went like this of what he's appeared in.
Speak up.
Wow, I've been accused of being quiet. Bob sent me an intro with all of the publications he's appeared in, and I did have to shorten that a little bit. But his footage has aired on ABC, NBC, CBS, Fox, and PBS, in addition to Discovery, History, and Science channels, and he has even appeared in a Steven Spielberg film, In Dreams.
Wow.
There are so many other places where Bob's work appears that I haven't named them all, which I already said, but I am just happy that you found the time to be with us today.
Thank
So
you.
welcome.
Thank you. Like I said, I'm wicked bashful. Nobody can ever hear me. It's great to be here. My name's Bob Michelson. Typical mistake. My name is spelled without an A, so everyone thinks it's Michelson. Not a problem. We forgive you. Just don't let it happen again, young lady. Today we're going to be talking about coyotes. And we have a whole bunch of, I have over 50 topics available. I'm hoping to be back again. If you like what I'm doing, hopefully we'll be back again. You're a coastal community, so you might like some of my other topics like sea turtles, whales, seals, great white sharks, you know, insignificant things that only impact you directly because you're a coastal community. But today we're going to talk about the animals that live on land. We're going to be covering the history of coyotes in the United States, physical characteristics, habitat, and diet of coyotes. What do they eat? Expansion and hybridization of coyotes east of the Mississippi River, and how to coexist with these things. How do we stay safe around coyotes? They are here to stay. They're not going anywhere, and it's up to you and I to be diligent to be safe around them so our young children, our grandchildren, and our pets stay safe. So we're going to cover that towards the end. So, before we start, the coyote that lives around us is not a purebred coyote. It's a hybrid. Some people in the media refer to it as a coywolf. I'm here to tell you there is no such animal as a coywolf. That's made up by somebody. Our coyotes are hybrid, which means, we're going to get into the story of it, they have coyote DNA, wolf DNA, and large breed domestic dog DNA like that of a German Shepherd. So that's why it's called a hybrid coyote. The common name for our coyote is the eastern coyote. But prior to 1900, there were never coyotes east of the Mississippi River. They've always been west of the Mississippi, but never east. And unlike the coyote featured in cartoons, ours do not act like that. So here is a western coyote. Her name is Molly. She's residing down at the Buttonwood Park Zoo in New Bedford. And I got to go in the enclosure with the coyote. Nothing between me and her but ear. And Molly is a western coyote. They're smaller. They're about 2 feet tall at the shoulders, very long legs, large bushy tail, and a long pointed snout. And their coat is mainly tan to golden yellow. Their mouths are smaller because they're a purebred western coyote. They've always been in the western half of the country for thousands of years. And they were never in this part of the country before. So here is Molly looking at me kind of going, ooh, snack, yes, no. And when she started licking her chops and rolling her ears back, I got out of the enclosure. Here she is hunting. Beautiful animal. Right now she's 12 years old. Life expectancy of a captive coyote is about the same as a large breed dog. 15, 16 is a good life. So she's starting to get in her senior years. So I can relate to her. I'm 68. I'm in my senior years as well. So eastern coyote, the species Latin name is Canis latrans var. Canis is the genus, and then the species name is latrans in var. There are 20 subspecies of coyote in the United States. Ours is the eastern coyote. One of 20, I already talked about that. So have fun, take pictures if you want. This breaks down the animal on the animal kingdom web. It's rather tedious, so I'm going to skip over this. I'm just going to show you very briefly so you can take a quick gander at it, but we're not going to spend a lot of time on this slide. We go from, I should probably have my glasses on, I can't read it. Anyway, bottom is Canis, which is the, all wild dogs are the genus Canis. So foxes, coyotes, wolves are all the genus Canis. So the gray wolf would be Canis lupus, lupus meaning wolf. So wolves and coyotes are first cousins. They both have the genus of Canis, and then Latransvar is the species name for the eastern coyote, and lupus is the species name for the eastern timber wolf or gray wolf. So back before 1931, we had wolves all around New England. But across the country, wolves were considered a threat by ranchers and farmers. They'd take down cattle. It gets expensive. We kill the animal. Man is very good at screwing up the environment. We're very, very good at screwing up the environment. So we wipe out the wolf, something's going to move in and take its place. Enter the coyote. So prior to 1900, coyotes of any species were never found east of the Mississippi River. So the entire eastern half of the country never saw a coyote ever. We killed the last wolf in 1930. Now the coyote have no competition. They go up into Canada. They breed with whatever is available up there. There's wolves everywhere in Canada still. There are large breed domestic dogs like St. Bernards, German Shepherds. They breed with them as well. Yes. That's why we get a hybrid version. Our coyotes are 25% larger than the western coyote. Their heads, jaws, and teeth are 25% larger than the western coyote. The western coyote hunts exclusively in open fields and meadows. The wolf hunts exclusively in forest habitat. Our coyote, because of the DNA in its makeup, can hunt anywhere they want. Open fields and meadows and in forest habitat. Now, I grew up in Randolph as a youth, in the last 37 years in Braintree, and I just relocated to Walpole. So in Randolph, there's documented cases of coyotes taking down, a family of coyotes taking down an adult white-tailed deer in the forest. So they're very capable predators. They're much more powerful than the western coyote that only hunts rabbits and hares in an open field or meadow situation. So we have to be a little bit more alert and aware of where these animals are and what they're doing, and how do we keep them away from us. We're going to talk about that later on. Don't worry, you're going to learn how to stay safe around them. You carry a walker, a hiking stick, a hurricane type of a cane, carry a whistle, jingle keys, bang cans or pots together, anything to distract them long enough to get to safety. And if you have pets here or at home, don't feed them outside, feed them in your house. If you put out cat food or dog food, your pet's not going to be the only animal feeding on that food. You're asking coyotes to hang around because coyotes are very, very smart animals. If they found a ready available food source, they're not going anywhere. They're lazy predators. Why should I work hard if I can go to a backyard and get a meal out of a dish? Can I have a bib with that, please? Can I have a glass of wine? Come on, let's get with the program. So on the left-hand side, we have a gray wolf. On the right-hand side, we have an eastern coyote, which has wolf DNA in it. Yes, ma'am?
Yes, I have a question. How about if you have a compost bin in the backyard?
A compost?
Yeah, where you put the vegetables.
Put up high fencing around it if you can. If you have a compost pile in your backyard, coyotes will come in and feed on the vegetation and the insects that they're attracting. So put up not a chain link fence, but chicken wire to try to keep them out of there and try to contain it as best you can. It's okay to have compost piles, but anything like that and bird seed are attracting smaller animals that the coyotes will feed upon. So your compost pile is attracting mice, rats, raccoons, opossums. Coyotes will feed on all those animals. So try to contain it as best you can. You should be fine. A coyote can jump over a 6-foot fence easily, so if you have a fenced-in backyard, that doesn't make you safe. When I was in the enclosure with Molly, I had my camera hanging down by my side. From a standing position, she jumped 6 feet straight in the air. I was looking at the bottom of her paws, 3 feet away from me, and I'm just kind of like, didn't take a picture. I was awestruck. They're that powerful. They can jump 6 feet straight up in the air, and I'm looking at the bottom of her paws from a standing position. So a 6-foot fence isn't a challenge for a coyote. I saw a photo in Randolph, a coyote sitting on top of a post of a 6-foot picket fence, checking out the contents of the backyard. Ooh, a Dalmatian, snack time. Ooh, a Cocker Spaniel, yummy. Fluffy, oh yeah, my favorite. They don't care what species, they just like cats. Yes?
Wild, what kind of food do they go after?
Whatever they want.
Smaller animals?
Smaller animals, they'll eat carrion, dead animals that are found in the forest. They prefer not to waste a lot of energy by chasing and catching prey. They just assume if there's a dead animal that died naturally or from disease, they'll eat it. It's not pretty. It's Mother Nature, it's not pretty. They're efficient, effective hunters. They're not afraid of much of anything. They're here to stay. They're all around us. And we're going to get into the history in it shortly. We're just talking about some basic biology right now. So, coyote, name origin. The word coyote is Mexican, Spanish derivative from an Aztec root called coyote, meaning trickster. So the cartoon is accurate. Coyotes are very sly, sneaky animals. They can break into a chicken coop without thinking twice. They're very, very sly and sneaky animals. That's part of the derivative of their name, coyote, the trickster.
Are they native to the United States?
They've been in North America for thousands of years, millions of years.
Really?
We're going to get to that. You're jumping the gun. Let me get to that. No, I'm only kidding. Ask any questions at any time you want during this program. Coyote is a key figure in Navajo mythology. Indigenous people, our Native Americans, look very, very highly on all Mother Earth. All animals are important to indigenous peoples. I work very closely with the Nipmuc Nation in central Massachusetts, and Mother Earth is near and dear to their heart, more than any religion that we might practice. We learn a lot from old cultures. So, now, origin. It's a species only found in North America. They've been distinctive to North America for over 1 million years. So have they been in the United States? For quite a long time, a lot longer than my family's been here. My family immigrated here around 1923 when my grandparents came from Lithuania, and they were here a lot longer than that. Coyotes evolved and have been distinctive to North America for over 1 million years. That's a long time, a lot older than I am. They're closely related to the golden jackal in Africa. Although the coyotes didn't go over the Pangea, the natural land bridge that connected us with other continents millions of years ago, they've evolved separately, but they're genetically very close to one another. So the golden jackal is a very close cousin to our coyote, but they never ever met. Maybe they email each other, maybe they Facebook with one another, I don't know. Maybe they do a Zoom call once in a while, I'm not sure. They don't talk to me about it openly. Coyotes were very important to Native American history in southwestern and midwestern tribes. All indigenous people look at all of Mother Earth as godlike figures. The eagle is precious in Indian lore. The bald eagle, the golden eagle. Eastern expansion in the early 1800s, the coyote was not found east of the Mississippi River or the Great Plains. And starting around, late 19th, early 20th centuries, the last wolf was killed in the eastern half of the country. The coyote now saw the opportunity to expand their range. They went up into Canada, They interbred with whatever was available, wolf, other coyotes, other dog species, and now what we have is a hybrid coyote that started to come down from upstate New York, northern Vermont, New Hampshire, and Maine. Now they're as far south on the East Coast as Florida. Wow. It didn't take them long to get down to Disney World. And they didn't even have to fly. Imagine how much money you can save. Just walk to Florida. Wow. I don't know how long it took them, but I'm on. Let's go. Say hi to Disney, Mickey. The Lewis and Clark expedition first found the coyote and called him a prairie wolf because they'd never seen one before. They had only experienced wolves in the Pacific Northwest. So they saw a coyote in the Great Plains, and it's like, oh, a prairie wolf, a smaller wolf. Let's call it a prairie wolf. The name's kind of stuck under certain names in all the Lewis and Clark journals that still exist. They're still referred to as prairie wolf. So here's a quick chart showing a wolf in the top right-hand side, a large breed domestic dog on the top left, a coyote on the bottom left, a golden jackal in the bottom right, and a red fox at the very bottom of the photo. They look very similar to one another with slight differences, slight nuances, different habitat types, very similar food. They're all carnivores. They like meat. And the type of meat they can get is opportunistic, whatever they can sink their teeth into. And the easier, the better. If they can get it canned or out of a bag, they'll take that. If they can chase down a deer and catch that, they will. Yes?
Are they omnivorous like dogs?
Yes, coyotes are omnivorous. Omnivorous means they can eat both plants and meat. Omnivores eat meat and vegetables. Herbivores are only plant eaters. Carnivores are exclusively meat eaters. Omnivores eat both meat and vegetables. So they're good where they'll eat their steak and they'll have a salad too. They eat a well-balanced diet. My wife would be very proud. They don't have to take cholesterol medication. So here's a graphic showing the 20 subspecies of coyotes in the North American continent. We're talking Canada, Alaska, Mexico, and the US. 20 subspecies. We have exclusively the eastern coyote, the eastern half of the country, down to the northern part of Florida is what we have here in New England.
Why is that so?
Why is it so? They've evolved that way.
Why didn't the other species do it? Is it territorial?
It's territorial. We're going to talk about that in a little bit. Coyotes are very territorial. They'll stake out a 4 to 15 mile square area, and if any stranger comes in, they'll fight for it to the death. Once their pups are old enough, they shoot away. They'll keep, a lot of the mother-father pairs will keep the female coyote pups, but they shoo the boys away. The boys have to find their own territory where no other coyotes are surviving, or join another family pack if they're accepted. So,
In other words, there's an order.
there is an order, there's a pecking order. There's alpha, there's beta. So usually the alpha is always a female in a wild dog. So in the wolf family and the coyote family, the wild canids, there's a female that's always in charge, similar to my house. I'm not the boss, my wife is. And after my wife comes my daughter.
Don't say that out too loud.
I've been married for 36 years, I'm proud of it. She puts up with a lot. The woman should be nominated for sainthood. The places I drag her to, you wouldn't believe. She helps me put on my dry suit. I go in some crazy places underwater, and she'll sit in the truck and go knitting. So, here we go. So, prior to 1900, the dark shaded area is where western coyotes were found for thousands upon thousands of years, dating back almost 1 million years. East of the Mississippi River was just where the light gray and the dark purple area meet. Never saw coyotes east of that until after 1900. So,
What brought them east?
huh?
What brought them east?
They were running out of habitat. There were so many coyotes west of the Mississippi River, they got chased out of their home range. They had to find a new place to live. They went up into Canada. Oh, there's no coyotes here. Let's make babies. Let's go down in the other part of North America. Let's find a mate and make babies. And let's keep expanding. Like every other species of wildlife that we have here. Eagles. 30 years ago, we had 6 pairs of bald eagles introduced to the Quabbin Reservoir. Today, there are over 100 nesting pairs of bald eagles just in Massachusetts. A successful recovery of an endangered species. And that's happened nationwide. The bald eagle has been declassified as endangered. Now it's just a species of concern. And a funny story about that one is Congress, back during the Revolutionary War days, wanted the eastern wild turkey to be our national bird. Now imagine we're the laughingstock of the world right now. Imagine if our national bird was a turkey. The jokes that would be running around the rest of the world right now. So Ben Franklin wanted our bird to be the turkey. Thankfully, he didn't win out. It was the bald eagle. Majestic, powerful, which is how we like to think of ourselves, but that's kind of going down the way. Never mind. Let's not go there. So, how did the eastern coyote evolve? It started with the western coyote and the gray wolf up in Canada. They got together. They had a party. Maybe had a cigarette. I don't know. Baby Coywolf type dogs were born. Eastern coyotes were born. They started to expand their range down where there were no coyotes in the eastern half of the United States. Now they're all the way down into Mexico. And the hybridization stopped about 60 years ago. Now there's enough coyotes all around the eastern half of the United States where they breed exclusively amongst themselves. They don't go after German shepherds or wolves, because there's no wolves around here anymore. There are red wolves in North Carolina, Mexican gray wolves in Arizona, New Mexico, and parts of Texas. But the rest of the country, there's no wolves, other than Yellowstone National Park area, which hopefully we still have. But that's another story. Again, don't get me started. When gray wolves were killed off during the 1800s, western coyotes took advantage of more land and hunting availability and moved into that habitat. And when they ran out of habitat, they moved up to Canada because there were no other western coyotes. They bred with whatever was available. They want to have babies, they'll make it a way to make it happen. And what we have is the hybrid version of that running around Cohasset area and all of the South Shore. I live in Walpole, they're everywhere. There's no town that does not have coyotes in Massachusetts other than Nantucket and Martha's Vineyard. All of Cape Cod has coyotes everywhere.
Why not there?
They haven't gotten on the ferry and taken it out to the islands. They can't afford the rates to go to the islands. I can't afford to go to Nantucket. The coyote doesn't have any pocket change. They don't take credit cards. They don't have a pocket to carry credit cards. And I don't know if a bank that would give one to them.
It's a long swim. Yeah.
A very long swim in very dangerous waters in the summertime. You go swimming out to Martha's Vineyard in Nantucket, you're going after a very big fish with big teeth that like seals, great white shark. Mm-hmm. So if a coyote tried to swim out to the vineyard or Nantucket, during summer months, they're probably going to be a snack for a great white shark. Absolutely. Splashing at the surface sends a signal to a shark, you're wounded and you're an easy meal. You're dead. That's another story for another day. Let's not ruin that one. That's another topic I have, gray seals and great white sharks of Cape Cod. So a coastal community like Cohasset may be interested in seals and sharks. I don't know, I'm just speculating. Because you have them off the coastline here. The Glades, Gun Rock, you have seals, and you have sharks. Yep. Don't go swimming over your waist if there's seals in the water. That's my only tip. So with no competition for the land, the coyotes started to move in where the wolves used to live. And now we have them everywhere. Where did the wolves go? Well, our government, which is really good at screwing up the environment, decided that wolves were a threat to ranchers and farmers, so let's kill them all. Not that they were here before we came here. Wolves are dangerous. Let's not learn how to live with them. Let's just kill them. So by 1931, the last gray wolf in the United States of America was killed by the federal government. Now the western coyote has no competition. They're running out of land west of the Mississippi River. What do? Oh, let's go on vacation up to Canada. They're not going to ask for our passport. They go up to Canada. They find wolves. Hey, want to have some family? Sure. Okay, let's make family. German Shepherds, St. Bernards, any large breed dog that would connect with a coyote, they made families together. So now, most of the coyotes I see in the South Shore have the body coloration and pattern of that of a German Shepherd. And how many people here have seen a coyote? Raise your hand. Almost all of you. Doesn't the pattern look like a German Shepherd? Very strong DNA for German Shepherd. Other than they have a much longer pointed snout, much taller stature, and a much bigger bushy tail than a German Shepherd. Other than that, they have the coloration of a German Shepherd. So with no primary predators in the eastern U.S., coyotes were able to expand their range. Now we have them all the way down to Florida. Now they're expanding down into Mexico. I wonder how that's going to go over crossing the border. And a wall can't keep them out. So causes of coyote migration and hybridization. We've talked about almost all of them. You can read this if you want to take a moment. Hunting and extermination of the wolf made the coyote appetite and look to expand their range, expand their numbers, look for new food sources, more places to roam around. And once they started breeding with wolves, now they were able to hunt in forest habitat, not just open fields. So they're much more capable hunters now than what they were before they met the wolf. Western coyotes hunt exclusively hares and rabbits in open fields. Small game. Our coyotes, because they have wolf in them, they can take down a deer. A 200-pound deer is prey for a coyote family. They communicate. They yip, howl, and scream and circle and entrap the deer and run it so it's tired. And then they communicate with each other as to who's going to come in or go in, and they go after the throat. So if any one of you have had the unfortunate circumstance of losing a pet to a coyote, they go after your pet's throat. It's not long. It's not painful. It's immediate. So if you've lost a small cat or a dog to a coyote, they didn't suffer. I can tell you that. Coyotes, naturally instinct, coyotes and wolves, they go for the throat. They choke the animals to death, and they cut off the main veins in the throat, and they're dead instantly, first bite. Very little suffering. So they're humane hunters, if anything. Here's a graphic that's interesting. West of the Mississippi River, with a dark orange and a yellow meat, coyotes have always been west of there, all the way down into Mexico, for thousands of years. They started to go into the Berkshires in the 1960s. Massachusetts didn't see our first coyote until the 1960s. When my daughter was in middle school in the mid to late 1990s, they had the first denning pair of coyotes in Braintree. They couldn't go out for recess because there was a family of coyotes that dug a hole into the hill in the back of the middle school. Coyotes ruled. They couldn't disturb the animals. They were protected by state law, so the kids couldn't go out to play. Pupping season is now to March and April. So baby coyotes are being born now. They're going to emerge from the den in about a month. And then mom and dad are going to be very busy feeding their growing puppies. So from now until July, you have to be very careful when you go outside early in the morning, later in the evening. They're active hunters at night. But when they're feeding their pups, they're active 24 hours a day. So you're more apt to see them during the daytime when they're feeding their pups. And they feed them regurgitated food. So they'll eat it, partially digest it, deliver it back to the den, feed the pups, and then when they're about 4 months old, they start to teach them, they go on short hunting trips away from the protection of the den. And mom and dad participate and teach the babies how to hunt. And when they're about 9 months to a year old, they're on their own. They may keep the female pups around because there's some incest that takes place. The male coyotes may breed with the female pups from the previous year. A year later, they have sexually mature at about a year old. like a regular dog would be. So a lot of breeders will breed their hybrid dogs, fancy dogs, when they're about a year old. Coyotes are sexually mature at about a year of age. So now we have coyotes that have been down to Florida as recently as, 2000, 2015, that time frame. Now they're everywhere, except the islands. They can't get on a ferry. My guess is they can't afford the price. I know I can't. I'd like to go to the Vineyard. I'd like to go to Nantucket. Too expensive. Now, there is an International Union of Conservation for all wild animals. And because there's so many coyotes in the United States, they are of least concern to that organization. There are so many coyotes in the United States, there's no threat whatsoever of them ever becoming threatened or endangered. There's over 1 million coyotes in the US of A. That's a lot of wild dogs. A lot. And you figure just in Massachusetts, we have an estimated population of over 4,500 coyotes.
Is there an interest in making them extinct, or there's no effort?
There's no effort. You can't hunt coyotes in most states under different state criteria. In Massachusetts, you cannot discharge a powdered weapon within 500 feet of a residence. Now, where does that happen in Massachusetts? There's very little open space in Massachusetts. So in the Blue Hills, they have a deer hunt every fall to thin the white-tailed deer herd because of the spread of Lyme disease, which I have, thank you very much, Mr. Deer Tick. It's not fun. I'm recovering of a flare of it right now. Once you have it for life. It doesn't go away. It goes dormant in your body. They gave you the antibiotic doxycycline. I'm on it for a month now. I'm starting to feel better. Joint pain finally goes away about 2-3 months later. And then your memory starts to come back 3-4 months later because it affects your central nervous system. All because of a little tick carried by a deer that brushed against a bush while I was going through the Blue Hills. So, and they hunt the deer in the Blue Hills with bow and arrow because very few places in the Blue Hills are you not within 500 feet of a house or a building. It's surrounded by Boston on one side, Quincy on the other, Braintree, Canton, Milton. It's surrounded by residential neighborhoods. There's one neighborhood in Milton that there's a side street that abuts the Blue Hills. There's 30 houses on that street. There's at least one member of every family in those 30 houses that has Lyme disease. So Norfolk County, which I believe you're part of Norfolk County, are you not? Yeah, so is Walpole. We have the highest per capita rate of Lyme disease in the country. In the country. I'm proud to be a number. Yay! I represent. Yeah. I was snorkeling in a swamp in Lake Winnipesaukee in New Hampshire, and the only part of me that was exposed was between my dry suit hood and my mask, my forehead. It landed on my forehead and bit me in the forehead. I never developed the bullseye that you're supposed to get, but I was sick as a dog 2 weeks later. And that was 16 years ago. It never goes away. There's no cure. They're researching it. There's researchers at UMass Amherst right now that have found that the red serum from a white-tailed deer blood can kill Lyme disease. They haven't figured out how to translate that into a vaccine yet. They're working on it. So is Mass General in Boston. They're doing a lot of research on Lyme disease. So I'm hopeful someday there'll be a cure, hopefully while I'm still on the planet and not pushing up daisies. I'm not in a hurry to do the second one. So, a coyote food web. They're top predators, so they're at the top. They'll feed on mice, rats, voles, rabbits, deer, foxes. In locations of the state where you have a high coyote density, you have a low population of red foxes because the coyotes will kill and eat the red foxes. We also have a second species of fox, the gray fox, which are native to Massachusetts. But they can climb trees to get away from coyotes. So wherever there are high concentrations of coyotes, there are very low concentrations of red fox because the coyotes can eat them, but they can't catch the gray fox because they climb trees. Coyotes cannot climb trees. So good for the gray fox. And they all feed on plants. All the lower forms of animals will feed on plants, and it gets ingested up the food chain. Coyotes are lead predators. With gray wolves gone, they have no competition. They're the top dog, so to speak, in this part of the country. Excuse me a second. No scalping action. Yes.
How many coyotes are in like a large grouping, would you say?
Family units typically about 6 members, 6 to 8 members.
And they cordon off their own little area that they take care of?
They mark it with urine and poop.
But they stay within that?
They stay within that area,
Okay.
and mom and dad will stay in that area and don't wander too far. As long as there's a ready available food source, they stay put. And then they chase the younger members out of that area when it's time for them to move on and create their own habitat. Then they're chased out of the area by mom and dad. But mom and dad mark the perimeter of their habitat with urine and feces, poop. And they'll protect that territory to the death if they need to. Wow. Your eyeglasses are ready. Either that or it's pill time. I understand. I'm there too.
Wow, I didn't know.
Well, when the alarm goes off, it's time for your glasses?
No, I didn't know about the coyotes and how big a pack would be.
I'm a smart aleck, by the way, if you haven't picked up on that yet. So here is a eastern coyote I photographed on the Randolph-Braintree line, standing on a boulder. It looks just like a German Shepherd. But it's very tall. It has a long, pointed snout. And you really can't see the tail, but it's a very long, bushy tail. So if you see a very tall German Shepherd with a very long, pointed snout and large, pointed ears and a really big, bushy tail, that ain't a German Shepherd. Don't go pat it. It's a coyote. So, okay. The DNA breakup is basically 84% DNA of Western coyote, 8% gray wolf, and 8% large breed domestic dog is the DNA makeup of the coyotes we have here. It varies slightly from parts of the country to the other, but that's the general breakdown of the DNA makeup of a eastern coyote. So 84% Western coyote, which is their origin, 8% gray wolf, 8% large breed domestic dog, heavily favoring German Shepherd. So, how to recognize a gray wolf? You'll never see a dog as bigger than your life. They're over 6 feet tall. They weigh upwards of 100, 150 pounds. The paw print on the left is a wolf. The paw print on the right is a coyote. You can't mistake the two of them. The claw of the wolf is greatly beyond the tip of its toes. The claw print of a coyote is very similar, but it's a third the size of a wolf. And let me rest assuredly tell you, there are no wolves in New England anywhere. We have coyotes everywhere. We have bobcats everywhere. Extreme northern New England, there are, in northern Maine, near Canada, I'm talking 8 hours north of here, there are Canada lynx and an occasional cougar that will come down from Canada, but that's as far south as they come. Occasionally, we'll see a cougar migrate this far south, but it's tranquilized and moved back to North Country. There used to be cougars, Canada lynx, and bobcats everywhere, along with black bear everywhere, but they got hunted to the brink of extinction. Black bear and bobcats are moving their way back here and now. They're denning and giving birth to babies as far east as Worcester, as far south as Merrimack Valley, and they're going to be here in Norfolk County within the next 5 to 10 years. I did a photography study with Connecticut Department of Energy and Environmental Protection 2 years ago in Hartford, Connecticut. You know, the capital city of Connecticut? Hartford, Connecticut, I visited 3 den sites of bobcats. One was underneath the shed of a neighborhood yard. One was underneath the shed of a church. And another one was right next to a commercial property underneath an empty tree log. So bobcats are everywhere in Connecticut, and they're moving east, north, and south of Hartford. They're already having babies in Worcester County. We're not that far from Worcester. And they're moving here. Same with black bear. So we see rogue black bear all around the South Shore. Every once in a while, like almost once a year, there's a male. Male black bears will range up to 115, 120 miles from where they were born, seeking out their own home range. Female black bear will range 10 to 15 miles a year, seeking out a new home. Bobcats are more prolific than that, and they move a lot faster than black bear. So I'm expecting, we already do see an occasional bobcat around here. They're going to be denning and giving birth to kittens within the next couple of years in Norfolk County, especially western Norfolk County, which is where we are. Walpole, Wellesley, Cohasset's more on the coast. You guys have a couple more years, I think. I think you're looking at 5 years for the Cohasset area, coastal area. But where I live in Walpole, we're looking at bobcats in the next couple of years. And we've got all kinds of wooded habitat in our backyard. And bobcats are great tree climbers. They sleep in trees at night. They don't stay on the ground.
If someone kills a coyote, is it punishable by?
It's not against the law to kill a coyote. It's not against the law, but there's certain hunting seasons for all wildlife in the Commonwealth. You have to check with state law as to what you can hunt, what time of year, and what method you can use. I'm not an expert in that. I know biology. I understand management. I don't get involved in hunting or fishing.
It says that wolves are protected by federal law.
Wolves are on the endangered species list. They've reintroduced wolves to Yellowstone National Park. That congregation of wolves has expanded their range south, east, and west of Yellowstone now. So the wolf population in the middle part of the country is expanding. They haven't made it back to the northeast yet. There's no wolves east of Yellowstone. But they're all around that part of the country, south of Yellowstone, east and west of Yellowstone. They're expanding their range back into the middle part of the U.S., the middle, I call it the Great Plains area. So we killed them all, and we introduced them in the early 80s. Now they're expanding their range again, naturally. But they're not in this part of the country at all. Just coyotes, which is a big enough pain in the butt. I don't want to have to worry about a wolf. I'd rather worry just about a coyote, which I can scare it away. A wolf, you don't scare away. They look at us as snacks. Kind of like, do you want to go pet a grizzly bear? No, you don't want to go pet a grizzly bear or a polar bear. They're dangerous animals. Leave them alone. They're called wildlife. That keyword wild, they're not a pet. Don't go play nice. Leave them alone. So, western coyotes on the left, they're smaller. They weigh 20 to 30 pounds. They're about 1.5 feet tall at the shoulders. Eastern coyote, 30 to 40 pounds. I've seen them as big as 60. And they're about 2 feet tall at the shoulders. The heads are 25% larger than the western coyote, so they can take down bigger prey. A miniature pinscher, for example, 8 to 20 pounds and 12 inches tall at the shoulders. And then a German Shepherd, well, German Shepherds get bigger than that. They get up to 95 pounds, 100 pounds for a big shepherd. Depends upon the specific breed of shepherd. And they're over 2 feet tall at the shoulders also, which is why coyotes were partial to breeding with them. They were the same size. It was easy to get together to make babies, if you want to think that way. It's a little graphic to think that way, but there's a certain way animals make babies, which we're not going to discuss openly, because I have a younger audience and I don't want to shock you. Because none of you have kids, right? No, you don't know how that works. Okay, so now our eastern coyote can hunt in an open plain on the left side, prairie habitat, and forest habitat of northern New England. Western coyotes only hunt in an open plain or prairie habitat. Gray wolves only hunt in forest habitat. Our coyotes can hunt in both types. Western coyote, open plains. Gray wolf, forest. On the right-hand side, eastern coyote, both types. A little bit more graphic and visual for you. Now, the biology. All wild dogs, wolves and coyotes alike, live in dens that the mother will excavate out of the side of a hill, underneath a tree trunk, underneath your deck, underneath your porch, underneath an overhang piece of ledge, wherever they can safely make a home, protecting their young ones from the weather. So if you have a deck or a porch in your backyard, they're going to dig a hole underneath it and make it a den. You have overgrowing bushes in your backyard, they'll make a den underneath those bushes because it gives them protection from the weather. You have ledge or a boulder in your backyard, they'll dig underneath it to make a depression to get out of the weather underneath that boulder. I photographed this pup on the left that the mother dug a hole in the side of a hill. She excavated a hole 3 feet inside the hill. She gave birth to her pups inside, and then they started to wander out. I took this picture. This is down at Barnstable. The pups on the left-hand side, a photographer friend of mine took in the midwestern part of the country. The mother dug a hole underneath some overhanging ledge, and the 3 pups are now sticking their heads out from their den underneath ledge. So western coyote diet, they're omnivores and scavengers. They'll eat the majority of meat, dead carcasses of larger animals, fruits, vegetables, and eggs. So nesting birds like turkeys, they'll devour an entire nest of turkey eggs. Chicken coops, they love to break in and have chickens and chicken eggs. They don't care if they're baked, broiled, or stuffed. They'll eat them anyway. They're not picky. You don't have to go to Stop and Shop and get one for a coyote. They'll make their own meal. Gray wolf, carnivores and scavengers. They eat meat, larger game, moose, deer, elk, buffalo or bison, etc. as their main food source, rodents and other dead animals. So they're mainly carnivores, but they're opportunistic. They'll eat whatever they can get their teeth into. Cows, pigs, sheep, anything on a farm are open family. They don't usually go after small game like that because that's a pain for a big wolf like that. They'll go after rabbits, squirrels, porcupines, skunks, foxes, opossums. They'll eat all of those. A person if they get in the way. Eastern coyote, omnivores and scavengers again. They're opportunistic feeders and will eat majority meat, deer, elk, rabbit, small pets, dead carcasses of larger animals, fruits, vegetables, and eggs from different birds and reptiles. So they'll dig up a turtle nest and eat the eggs. They're not really picky about what type of egg they eat. It's good protein. Here is a camera trap photo courtesy of Dr. Roland Kays. He is a lead canid researcher out of the University of North Carolina. He's the one that gave me all the information about there's no such animal as a coy wolf and the DNA makeup of the coyotes that we see around here. He provided me with all that information. And for a feature story that we had published in Natural History magazine, Dr. Kays wrote the story. I provided all the photography. So I produced the stories for that magazine. I take all the pictures, and an expert in the field will write the story. So I learned through osmosis. I learned from hanging around with smart people without having to go get the PhD and pay for the expense of it. Coyotes need to eat 2 to 3 pounds of food per day to eat. Here's a coyote being wily, breaking into a chicken coop. It didn't end well for the chickens. Here's another camera trap photo in North Carolina from Dr. Kays, where a pack of eastern coyotes are hunting. And they communicate while they're hunting. They'll spread out over a larger area. One finds a food source, yip, yip, ooh, 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 ooh. And it'll bring all the family in and direct them. The alpha female will direct them as to where to go and how to pounce on the prey. They're great communicators. Coyotes are the most vocal communicators in the wild kingdom for wild dogs. They're the most vocal, they're the most communicative. Coyotes are the most, I already said that. Communications, they have a series of noises including yips, growls, barks, howls, and whines. It lets out a long howl so that other members of the pack know where they're located. Uses shorter barks to warn family members of danger and how to connect and get the food. They have their own language, which I don't understand. I don't speak coyote. I consider myself bilingual. I speak English and a little bit of Dorchester. For any of you from the city. And my Dorchester's getting a little rusty because I haven't been there in a very long time. I think we moved out of there when I was 5. So here's Molly howling. A siren from an ambulance went by, and that set her off to howl. An ambulance went by outside the zoo, and there she lifts her head up and, oh, oh. It was so cool. I wish I recorded it, but I was taking still pictures. So when a pack of coyotes are welcoming a new member, they're very playful. They'll play amongst each other. They'll snuggle with each other. They'll nuzzle with each other. And they're very welcoming animals. But once in a while, they don't want that other coyote to be in the pack, and they're going to let that animal know to get lost. Or it's going to be very dangerous for that other coyote. They'll make it a meal. Daily activities, they like to sleep during the daytime and they're active at night. So you don't see a lot of coyotes this time of day. They'll come out near sunset. They'll be active hunting at night through the early morning hours. And usually by the time of sunrise, they're sleeping. Other than from now until July when they're actively feeding their pups. Because they can't sleep all day long and keep those hungry pups busy. Coyotes and dogs enjoy playing and running around like your dog does at home. They're very playful. They interact with their siblings. And there is a hierarchy. Now, in my house, when I was growing up, my younger sister was the boss. She was a bully. I haven't talked to her in over 30 years. I'm okay with that. But she was the bully. She was the alpha. And I got in trouble for all the things she did wrong. I got blamed for everything she did wrong. That's part of why I don't talk to her anymore. Can't pick your family. So, feature adaptations. Coyotes have fluffy fur to help them keep warm during the winter months. They have an extremely keen sense of smell and hearing. A sudden change of odor or wind direction will get them to run away because they can sense danger or to hunt for food. They have strong smelling urine to mark their territory. They can run up to 39.7 miles per hour. You are not going to outrun a coyote. I think the fastest human can maybe run 8 miles an hour. You're not going to run faster than a coyote. I'm lucky to walk. I just had my right knee replaced. I'm walking speed, never mind running right now. So only the slower movers need to be worried about this. If you're fast, good luck to you. You'll be okay. Oh, and fur color allows them to blend in for camouflage. They blend in using natural camouflage. All times of year, the pattern on the coyote's coat blends them into the environment. It's hard to see them. They blend right in underneath your bushes, in the shrubbery, underneath your woodpile, underneath your deck. It's hard to see them. They blend in naturally. Coyote life cycle. Mating takes place in February and early April of each year. The female is pregnant for between 58 and 65 days. She'll give birth to between 1 to 19 pups. So mums, imagine having 19 babies to feed at the same time. Good luck to you. There's higher numbers of pups born in southern war regions where there's more readily food source available year-round. Up here, the hunting season is shorter, so we have fewer pups up in here in northern United States. I'd say the average litter of pups here in New England is anywhere from 2 to 4 pups. You get down to the Carolinas, 15, 16, 17 pups for a litter, because they can hunt year-round. They don't really sleep. They don't hibernate at all. They're hunting year-round. Around here, at wintertime, all the food sources of a coyote, the rabbits, the squirrels, they hibernate. Skunks hibernate. Raccoons take a nap. There's not a lot of food for them to hunt in wintertime, so they're not going to have more babies other than what they think they can feed successfully and raise through subadults. In the mammals, they're live bearers like humans. No eggs that hatch. Coyote pups are born with floppy ears and are blind. They open their eyes when they're about 10 days old. So the first 10 days that they're born are the most susceptible to being eaten by another predator. So if a fox came in and raided the den and mom or dad wasn't around, the fox could kill the babies with no problem. And it happens. Fishers will take a baby coyote. They're dangerous predators as well. They're a weasel. They're the largest weasel we have in North America. Coyote pups will venture out of their dens when they're about 3 to 4 weeks old. And once they are weaned at about a month old, both parents will start to lead them on short hunting trips to teach them the ropes and how to survive. And once they're about 9 months to a year old, they can fend for themselves. So the family unit is not a lifelong commitment. Now, I'm now living with my daughter and her husband. We took care of our daughter until she got married. Now we're living with her and her husband. Well, the whole idea is when there's grandkids, there'll be free daycare.
Oh, yeah.
So that should be starting soon. So we're told. No pressure. Male pups leave their mothers when they're about 6 to 9 months old. Female pups will stay with their parents for another year or two. They may actually interbreed with the female pups for the next generation of babies. Coyote gets their adult teeth when they're 6 to 7 months old, like your domestic dog does. Learning to hunt, they'll feed on gray squirrels, whatever they can get their teeth into. Mom and dad teach them very, very well. They instinctively are sly, very, very smart hunters. And mom and dad will give them some trades of some tools of the trade. Come here, let me give you a secret. This is how you get this particular animal. Okay, now go try it. Okay, do it this time, the next time. And they just teach them that way. Like, you know, we taught our daughter how to do certain things. Now she's doing them better than us. And my daughter's a teacher, so she's teaching other people. Coyote enters the juvenile stage when they're about a year old. When they reach sexual maturity, males will slip away from their packs around this age to find their own territory and start their own families. While the female pups may stick around for another year or two before they're eventually chased away to start their own family. And they mark the territories by urinating the boundaries of their location, along with using feces, poop. Yes?
Is there interbreeding in relationships like brother and sister?
Yes. Coyote brother and sisters will interbreed with each other, kind of like the British people. British royalty, there was a lot of inbreeding back in the day. Coyotes do the same thing. We try not to do that here. We try not to have first cousins get together and second cousins get together because you can genetically create problems. You get a lot of diseases when you have a lot of inbreeding, but there's enough genetic diversity where there's not a lot of problems with coyotes.
My father had to move out of Newfoundland because of that.
How personal do we want to get?
Way up in Newfoundland was his second cousin.
Okay. You just got personal. Okay. That's why he had to leave Newfoundland? Wow. Okay. I haven't had to do that yet. It's amazing what you learn. Territories are marked by urine and poop. Coyote territory varies in size based on the habitat and abundance of prey available. But like I mentioned earlier, most habitat areas for a family of coyotes is 4 to 15 square miles, which is a pretty big area. So Cohasset probably has at least 2 to 3 packs of coyotes easily living in this town of 6, 8 members, taking up the totality of property available in Cohasset. You figure all the coastal areas, there's lots of places for them to hide. There's a lot of inland and forested habitat in this area. Lots of places for them to hide. They're all over the place in Wampatuck. We've heard them hunt and kill turkeys when going on walks there. I have all my deer photography at Wampatuck. There's a big herd of white-tailed deer in Wampatuck. Coyotes are feeding on them as well. The fawn, the older, the weak, the sick, coyotes will take them down and feed on them. Both male and females in a pack will defend their territories. They're very protective of their home range. And the coyotes, my mother and father will mate for life. So like most humans, and I say most humans because I'm married to the same woman now for 36 years. My son-in-law was the first product of his parents who were on their third marriage when his father passed away. Both his mother and father married 3 times. But I'm still on my original. Thanks, Ma. I was raised well. Plus, my wife would kill me if I tried to do anything about it. No, she's my best friend. And I'm not ashamed of it. So population size, I'm sorry. Coyotes in Massachusetts number about 11,500, not 4,500. That would be black bear. I'm confusing my species. So we have about 11,500 coyotes in Massachusetts. Holy smokes, that's a lot of coyotes for a small state. That's coyotes every couple miles in the entire state. That's a lot of blanking coyotes. Here's when I got out of the enclosure. Molly's looking at me. Her ears are starting to fold back. Her lips starting to curl up, and she's starting to go. Her handler said, Mr. Michelson, time for you to get out of the enclosure. She's looking at you as a snack. She's much faster than I am, because back then I still had a bad knee. I couldn't move that fast. Lifespan is 8 to 12 years in the wild, up to 16 years in captivity. Causes of death, pup mortality is high, with an average of about 50% of the pups will live to be an adult. Survival of the fittest in all nature and all wildlife is an average of about 50% of all babies will live to be an adult for any species of wildlife. Most deaths are now caused by humans, whether for the animal's fur, for management of the species, of taking of game and domestic animals, or because of collisions with vehicles. A lot of coyotes are getting killed by cars and trucks. Pups that are born in domestic dog-coyote relationships have a much higher mortality rate because the domestic dog does not know how to care for the pup. The wild part of the coyote comes through more than the domestic part does. So the domestic partner of the dog relationship doesn't know how to teach the coyote how to survive. So that coyote pup will not survive. Causes, again, in the wild, infections like mange, canine distemper, and rabies kill a lot of coyotes. And mange is a horrible way to die. They lose the fur underneath their armpits, their groin area, and they freeze to death in the wintertime. They're bald. They become bald. They kind of look like me, but I can put on a hat. They can't do that. So it's a horrible way for any dog to die or any animal to die is from mange. Mange is easily detected because they start to lose different parts of their bodies, usually at the tail and the flanks, under here, front and back legs, flanks, and they may die of exposure when the weather turns cold. Like we've had a really mild winter this year. It's so freaking cold out. We'll edit that part out. So here's Molly in her enclosure, hunting. Beautiful dog, big bushy tail, very tall posture, long pointed snout. That is a western coyote. Here are 2 eastern coyotes hunting in Randolph. Very stout, bigger animal, bigger head, bigger jaw. One is on the top left, one is in the middle of the frame. Eastern coyotes are highly adaptable and have learned to adapt in suburban areas. They will make a home in anybody's backyard, underneath your porch, underneath your garage, underneath your shed, in your bushes, in your compost pile, anywhere they can make a den. Get out of the weather, they'll find it, they'll make it. So it's up to us to be more cognizant and try to prevent them from giving them the opportunity. Because I don't want animals like that living in my backyard in Walpole, especially when we start to have grandkids. You're not going to take my kid as a snack. So here's a photo up in Gloucester of a coyote next to the road with cars going by. They're so used to people, they're not afraid of us anymore. To coyotes, humans are now second nature, so they're not naturally afraid of us like most wild animals are. For example, when I was photographing eastern wild turkeys up in Maine, in Poland, Maine, north of Portland, I couldn't get within a mile of turkeys. They saw me, they ran into the woods. Down here, turkeys run around me like I'm nothing.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
All right, turkeys running around in my front yard in Braintree from me to you. And the male's looking at me kind of going, gobble, gobble, gobble. Like, hey, I'm not moving. This is my yard. Get lost. Great pictures, but very intimidating birds. Picking up some roadkill in front of a car. It doesn't care that the car's there. That's how they're getting killed. They're dark at night. Your headlights, you're not paying attention. You're tired. You're coming home from a late night at work. Coming home from a late movie, whatever. You don't see them. There goes the coyote. And most people aren't going to stop and call the police and say, I'm sorry, I killed a wild animal. They just go home. There's no fine if you kill it. Yes.
So they range in size. I've seen them as small as that, very skinny in the back, very long nose. Then I saw one that looked like a German Shepherd, very large.
The coyotes I've seen are German Shepherd size.
But I've seen one very skinny too, in the back.
It maybe hasn't been eating well, and it could be a youngster. It could be a teenager. It may only be 8, 9 months old. That's the size of an 8, 9-month-old coyote. So that's probably a yearling. That was probably born February. This is in September. So this is a yearling. The coyotes I've seen in the Braintree, Randolph area are much larger, like that of a shepherd, with body markings to match. Big dogs, big bushy tails. This is my yard. I'm going to park myself right here. You can't have your garage. Yikes. That's an animal afraid of humans? I don't think so. Population management, despite constant hunting, poisoning, and other means of control, coyote is not going anywhere anytime soon. So we have to learn how to coexist with them. Let's get into that. Let's skip over this one. This just shows different DNA combinations of domestic and wild animals breeding together. And if you get a domestic dog and a wild coyote breeding together, their pups are not going to survive. So the only survival is of 2 coyotes that get together and have pups. That's what this is about. Coyotes' importance to our ecosystem. They're top predators. So they're going to take out the weak, the sick animals of the smaller or lesser species, the raccoons, the foxes, the skunks, the opossums that are sick, that are weak. They're going to take them out of the population. So they're making the environment safer for the rest of us by taking out weak and sick animals. Any questions? Go to Mass Wildlife. They have all kinds of resources available on their website. Now, to stay safe, we haven't talked about that yet. Here we go. Tips for residents. Secure your garbage. A coyote can easily tip over your barrel and have a field day. Make sure you have a barrel with a hinge on it. All of our barrels have locking lids that we got from Home Depot, because our town doesn't provide them anymore. We have to provide our own barrels, but we have to make sure that they have locking lids with a hinge, so a coyote, if they knock it over, can't get to the food inside. Don't feed your pets outside. Feed your pets inside. Let them go out, go to the bathroom, stay outside with them, and then bring them in. Even in a fenced-in backyard, a coyote can hop over the fence, take your small pet, leave the yard. You'll never know what's happened. You may hear a yip for when it kills your pet, and that's going to be it.
Will they go after a pet that's on a leash?
Yes. If you go for a walk around here and you encounter coyotes, which people do, they're not going after you, they're going after your pet. Now, if you have a golden retriever, they're less apt to go after a bigger dog than if you have a smaller dog. If you have a Dalmatian, probably not going to bother the dog. If you have a Chihuahua, a Dachshund, any small breed, a Pekingese, that's what they're going after, is smaller breed dogs like that. A cat, any domestic cat is a snack for a coyote. Any domestic cat. I have all kinds of reports of cats being taken from people's backyards by coyotes. They hear the screech, and then they see the cat being dragged into the woods by the coyote, and then there's never any signs of it. So feed your pets inside. Let them go out. Go outside with them with the lights on or with a flashlight. Let them do their business and bring them inside. If you go for a walk, put them on a leash and go for a walk with them. It won't do you any harm either. If you encounter a coyote in the woods while you're going for a walk in a state park or a local park, carry a whistle, an ear horn, even shaking your keys. Tall stature, make yourself taller than the coyote, put your arms up in the air. Hey, get out of here. I'm the boss. Get lost. Make yourself the alpha. Be the boss. Put on mom and dad voice. We all have it. Don't be afraid. They sense fear. Don't be afraid. They're not going to attack you. They're trying to intimidate you to get to your pet. If you're walking by yourself or with a loved one, they're not going to bother you. They're only going to try to go after you if you have a pet in tow. That's just how it is realistically. Keep bird feeders clean. If you have bird seed all over the ground, that's going to attract rabbits and squirrels and mice and rats, which is going to attract coyotes, because that's what they're feeding on. Close off crawl spaces around your property. Don't give them a place to make a den. If you have a deck, fill in the sides with planks so they can't get underneath your deck. If you have a crawl space, seal it off so they can't get underneath your foundation. Don't let coyotes intimidate you. Like I said, tall stature, we're getting older. I can't stand up as straight as I used to, but I can still be pretty intimidating if I want to be. And I'll shake my car keys. I usually go hiking with hiking sticks when I'm going through the woods. I have hiking sticks. I can bang them together. That's enough to scare a coyote away. And maintain eye contact while you're getting out of there. Don't turn and run. You're going to trigger an attack from any wild animal. Because if you run away, you're telling a predator, I'm an easy meal, come and get me. You're not going to outrun a coyote. We've already established that. So make a lot of noise, maintain eye contact, become the alpha, and tell that coyote who's the boss. And get out of there and get to the safety of your car, your house, or your apartment while maintaining eye contact at all times. Cut back overgrown bushes. Don't give them habitat to hide under. They're hiding under the bushes to ambush prey, squirrels and rabbits that are feeding on your front yard, or a baby turkey that's in your front yard, or a squirrel or a mockingbird that lands in your front yard, or a blue jay. Well, blue jays can take care of themselves. Robins. I wouldn't want to mess with a blue jay. They're nasty birds. Protect the livestock and produce. Put fences up. You have to put up a pretty tall fence to keep a coyote out, but if you maintain your property and you don't let it get overgrown, like we talked about a compost pile, keep it well groomed, keep it covered if you can. Don't let it get out of control. Coyote's not going to make a home out of it. Pet owners, free-roaming pets get preyed upon much more readily than a dog on a leash or a cat on a leash. If you have a cat and you declaw it and let it out of your house, you're making it a prey. So if you have a cat, let it keep its claws. It'll give it some semblance it can climb a tree to get away from a coyote. A coyote cannot follow a cat up a tree. Then you can call the fire department and get all the cuties to come get your cat down. My daughter did that at school one day. They had a fire in the kitchen. She called the fire department just so she can get the attractive firefighters to come put the fire out. After they already put the fire out in the school, but they still called the fire department. Back when she was single. Small pets are prey, and large pets are competition to a coyote. So they may not mate anymore with a German Shepherd, but they'll take on a German Shepherd if they think it's a threat to their pups. So if you see a coyote with pups, give them a wide berth. They are very protective of their young, like we are. If anyone came after my daughter, they have a problem. I was a very protective dad. I still am of my baby 34-year-old. Don't tell her I said that. Don't show this in Natick. Or Walpole. Free roaming pets are more likely to be hit by a car than attacked by a coyote. All pets should be leashed to abide by local municipality and state laws. Most cities and towns have a leash law. It blows my mind how many people just ignore the law and let their dogs run free. I don't get it. I want to keep my dog safe. So here are 5 different numbers, 6 different numbers, depending upon what part of the state you live in, as to who you call if you have a problem with a coyote. There are different municipalities. Like up in Salem, they had some aggressive coyotes. The town of Salem was allowed to call in hunters to get rid of those coyotes. But all they did was get rid of the coyotes to make room for more coyotes. Because once those coyotes were eradicated, another pack moved in and replaced them. You're not fixing the problem by getting rid of a coyote. You're just making room for more to move in. Anybody have any questions? You all ready to pass the test?